Hello, my Skull Crusher. We're back in another reaction, and we're watching top 50% of creatures and beasts. So let's get along with this because it's gonna be scary or not. So let's just do this and let's go.
Number 15, Black Stick Men. In
Black Stick Man.
2009, an online post sparked
Black
controversy
Stick
and discussion
Man.
when paranormal entities known as Black Stick Men were mentioned. They are just what they sound like, walking stick figures, the kind you would draw as a child, and though they seem to be basically gender neutral, they have the male gender attached to them commonly. The figures have been described as extremely tall, very thin, black in appearance without any facial or bodily features. Their appearances have been documented on message forums and websites since 2008, and unlike shadow people as a whole don't seem to be mentioned as being hunted by paranormal investigators. People just seem to be sharing their stories and experiences with lack of any photographic or video evidence. Although in 2013 there was a video captured in Russia that featured a large stick-like creature scaling the side of a building. The sightings usually take place along a deserted road or in an alleyway, away from bright lights and crowds. The witness that encounters the stickmen more times than not report being tired. The figures move smoothly as if gliding. They do not make any sound, although the air around them seems to be charged with static. The stickmen seem to not care about the spectacular and do not pay much attention at all to humans unless provoked. The phenomenon is pretty new, and there's not enough evidence to explain what or who they are and why they're visiting. However, it's certain the discussion won't be ending soon. Number 14, Banshee. Has your mother ever told you to stop screaming like a banshee when you were a child? You've probably spent a portion of your lifetime wondering exactly what a banshee was. Well, the banshee is the spirit of an Irish woman that comes into homes and neighborhoods and releases a blood-curdling scream just before someone is going to die. She is often seen wearing a white or gray dress, washing the blood-stained clothes of those who are about to perish. Reports also claim the banshee is very pale and has very long dark hair, which they brush with a silver comb. Alleged sightings of banshees have been reported as recently as 1948. The banshee may also appear in a variety of other forms, such as that of a hooded crow, stoat, hare, and weasel, although the banshee more often only comes as a warning of death. Some lore explains that she will get hungry and will kill witnesses and animals with her high-pitched scream and then suck their blood and soul. She is most often seen as an old hag, but can also appear as a gorgeous young woman. In most lengths, the banshee is either the spirit of a murdered woman or a mother who died during childbirth. Number 13, Wendigo. A half-beast creature or spirit that is particularly associated with cannibalism. The Wendigo, meaning evil that devours, was featured by Elgermon Blackwood in his classic terror tale, The Wendigo. Many legends and stories have circulated over the years about a mysterious creature who is encountered by humans and campers in the shadowy forests of the upper regions of Minnesota. In one variation of the story, the creature could only be seen if its faced the witness head on, because it was so thin that it could only be seen from the side. The spirit was said to have a voracious appetite for human flesh, and the many forest dwellers who have disappeared over the years were said to be victims of the monster. Wendigos are believed to have once been humans, but after being forced to eat fellow human flesh to survive, they become supernatural monsters that retain little human features once they are possessed. After their transformation, they begin to crave human flesh and feed solely on it. They also attain beast-like abilities such as speed, strength, and immortality. They are taller than humans, standing at about 12 feet. They appear emaciated and have pale green skin, so incredibly thin that their bones are visible, a symbolism of their unquenchable hunger. They are humanoid and are equipped with sharp claws used to rip prey to shreds. They have red eyes with sharp yellow crooked teeth. While many people believe that the legend of the Wendigo was simply created to deter people from committing acts of cannibalism, it's hard to convince witnesses that this is anything but real. Number 12, Succubus. In folklore, the succubus is seen as a female demon or supernatural entity that appears in dreams and takes on the form of a woman in order to seduce men, usually through sexual activity. It's a common belief that repeated sexual interaction with a succubus will lead to deterioration of health or death. A more modern view is that the succubus may or may not appear in dreams and is often depicted as a highly attractive enchantress. The succubus has become a very commonly depicted demonic creature in recent years through television, books, and movies. Although the idea of an attractive woman seducing you and taking your life is terrifying, there has never been any reported encounters with a succubus, and they were more likely created as means to deter sinful sexual encounters. Number 11. Hellhounds. Just as dog is known as man's best friend, the hellhounds, a supernatural dog in folklore, are known as the loyal companions and guardians of demons, devils, and some gods. A wide variety of ominous or hellish supernatural dogs occur in mythologies around the world. Features that have been attributed to hellhounds include mangled black fur, glowing red eyes, super strength or speed, ghostly or phantom characteristics, massive size, and a foul odor. Certain European legends state that if someone stares into a hellhound's eyes twice or more, that person will surely die. In cultures that associate the afterlife with fire, hellhounds may have fire-based abilities and appearances. They are often assigned to guard the entrances to the world of the dead, such as graveyards and burial grounds, or undertake other duties related to the afterlife or supernatural, such as haunting lost souls or guarding a supernatural treasure. In European legends, seeing a hellhound or hearing it howl may be an omen or even cause death. In fact, the bearer of death is a term used in describing the hellhound because they were supposedly created by ancient demons to serve the heralds of death. The hellhound has been seen several times throughout history and is not specific to any one place. The most recent sightings occurred in Connecticut, Kentucky, Louisiana, Ohio, and Germany, in or near cemeteries. Although hellhounds are more commonly found in ancient mythologies, they are far from a thing of the past. On a recent television show titled Mountain Monsters, one farmer seeks help because he believes he has seen a hellhound on his property and fears for his family's lives. Number 10. Today, every Tiyanuk, basically a demonic, human-eating baby demon. The Tiyanuk is a creature in Philippine mythology that hides in forests and disguises itself as a newborn,
It's gonna take
even
forever.
mimicking the cry. Once kind travelers come upon the baby to offer help, it will take a totally different and terrifying form, then slashes its victims or leads them astray. It will even kidnap children. Theories say the Tiyanuk is a spirit of a child whose mother died before giving birth, which caused the child to be born in the ground, creating the woodland demon. Its natural form varies from tale to tale. In one version, it retains the general shape of a baby, but then forms sharp claws and fangs to attack its victim. In yet another story, it is seen supernaturally flying through the forest, still in the form of a baby. The Tiyanuk has become very popular in Philippine horror movies, but it's not at all fiction. Travelers that explore forests claim having heard the cries of a baby, and some have even reported being attacked and led off their path by the little demon. Number 9. Reverse ghosts. While the spirit of a long-dead human haunting their place of death is no new story, very few people know about the other creepy type of ghosts. Most commonly, a ghost is a soul that is believed to be damned to the earth for some unfinished business, meaning that they must have died sometime, right? Well, a reverse ghost is the exact opposite of that. To put it in simple terms, it is a living being that travels back in time to a period where they feel atrocities were being played out against people. However, this human appears as a ghost to the past. An example of a reverse ghost in entertainment is seen in the movie From Time to Time, where a kid is deeply interested in the fate of two ancestors who lived in their family house he resides in. He ends up leaping back to key moments in their lives of the past. Once he's back in the future at the end of the movie, the two ancestors visit him in ghost form despite not previously haunting the house when he was there. Ghosts and reverse ghosts are naturally drawn to each other. The occurrence of reverse ghosts are very rare, and most evidence only comes from stories shared. It's believed that this is related to astral projection. Number 8. X-dimensional beings. Also known as interdimensional beings, these are a type of entity that exists in a dimension beyond our own. These beings are usually reported from stories of personal and unexplainable experience, And although the bulk of these stories center around beings that are basically just humans from other dimensions, there's the rare case of things being more frightening. There have been claims of people being attacked by these visitors or even abducted and taken to the entity's dimension, which drives them to insanity. A very popular story dealing with interdimensional beings and travel is known as the Philadelphia experiment, an alleged military experiment that is said to have been carried out by the U.S. Navy at Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, sometime around October 28, 1943. The purpose was to create the technology to render ships invisible to radar. The project was almost too successful, as the USS Eldridge supposedly went invisible before being teleported into another dimension, eventually reappearing off the coast of Norfolk, Virginia. Many of the crew members died or were driven to insanity and suicide. It has been said that the surviving crew members ranted about transparent beings. Another story dealing with this phenomenon is the story of a man who took a plane trip to Tokyo around 1954. Upon landing at the Tokyo International Airport, his seemingly normal trip had taken a very drastic turn for the weird. When he handed over his passport to be stamped, the man was immediately interrogated as to the whereabouts of his origins. While his passport looked authentic, it listed a country no one had ever heard of called Taured. After hours of interrogation and geographical research, the traveler was sent to a nearby hotel until an official decision could be reached. There, 2 immigration officers stood outside the hotel door until morning to assure the man did not flee. However, the next day, they discovered that the mystery man had vanished without a trace. The most troubling was that the only possible exit was through a window with no ledge 15 stories above a busy street. The Tokyo Police Department conducted an extensive search but continually came up empty-handed. There has never been any further information on this man or the case reported, so while not all interdimensional beings cause death and loss of sanity, it's still very unsettling to think that the people around us could possibly be from another dimension, or even worse, we could be, and we didn't even know it until something comes up. Another great example of an X-dimensional being is the very popular Slenderman. Many rumor that Slender is actually a demon from another dimension that travels here to feed. Then again, that's more of a meme than a true story. Regardless, considering the real-world happenings around X-dimensional beings, it's scary to think that we could be switching between parallel Earths without even knowing it. Number 7. Jurogomo. In Japanese folklore, the Jurogomo, which translates to horse spider, is much like the succubus in more European cultures. It is a creature that will appear as a beautiful woman in order to seductively lure a man into her home or web to sedate him, and then wrap him in spider silk and devour him whole. This creature almost seems worse though, considering that Japanese legend tells that the woman will shoot out 8 hair legs and sharp fangs just before she eats her victim. This is a nightmare come to life for all the arachnophobes out there. There have not been any claims of Jurogomo sightings and interactions in the past decades. However, the horse spider has become very popular in the Japanese culture, especially among certain animes. Some girls have even gone as far as buying webs for their rooms, possibly preparing to take their true form as a man-eating spider chick. Number 6. The Spring-Heeled Jack. The first claimed sightings of Spring-Heeled Jack was in 1837. Later sightings were reported all over Great Britain and were especially present in suburban London, the Midlands, and Scotland. The Spring-Heeled Jack was described by people who claimed to have seen him as a terrifying and frightful appearance, with clawed hands and eyes that were similar to fire. One report claimed that, beneath a black cloak, he wore a helmet and a tight-fitting white garment like an oilskin. Many stories also mention a devil-like aspect. Others said that he was tall and thin, with the appearance of a gentleman. Several reports mentioned that he could breathe out blue and white flames and that he wore sharp metallic claws at his fingertips. At least 2 people claimed that he was able to speak comprehensible English. According to accounts, in October 1837, a girl by the name of Mary Stevens was walking to Lavender Hill, where she was working as a servant. On her way, a strange figure leapt at her from a dark alley. After immobilizing her with the tight grip of his arms, he began to kiss her face while ripping her clothes off and touching her flesh with his claws, which she claimed were cold and clammy as those of a corpse. In panic, the girl screamed, making the attacker quickly flee from the scene. The commotion brought several residents who immediately launched a search for the aggressor, who could not be found. The most well-known of the alleged incidents involving Spring-Heeled Jack were the attacks on 2 teenage girls, Lucy Sales and Jane Oslope. Oslope reported that on the night of February 19, 1838, she answered the door of her father's house to a man claiming to be a police officer, who told her to bring a light, claiming, We have caught Spring Heel Jack here in the lane. She brought the person a candle and noticed that he was wearing a large cloak. The moment she handed him the candle, however, he threw off the cloak and presented a most hideous and frightful appearance, vomiting blue and white flame from his mouth. Oslop continued to describe exactly what other victims had before her. Without saying a word, he caught hold of her and began tearing her gown with his claws, which she was certain were of some metallic substance. She screamed for help and managed to get away from him and ran towards the house. He caught her on the steps and tore her neck and arms with his claws. She was rescued by one of her sisters, after which the assailant fled. 8 days after the attack on Jane Aslope, on February 28, 1838, 18-year-old Lucy Sales and her sister were returning home after visiting their brother. Sales stated that in the report to the police that she and her sister were passing along Green Dragon Alley. They observed a person standing at an angle of the passage. She was walking in front of her sister at the time, and just as she came up to the person who was wearing a large cloak, he spat a quantity of blue flame in her face, which deprived her of her sight, and that she was instantly dropped to the ground, and was seized with violent fits which continued for several hours. Her sister described Lucy's assailant in the same way others had. The individual did not speak, nor did he try to lay hands on them, but instead walked quickly away. Every effort was made by the police to discover the author of these and similar outrages, and several persons were questioned, but were set free. No one was ever caught and identified as Spring-Heeled Jack, combined with the extraordinary abilities attributed to him in the very long period during which he was reported at large.
Maybe
This has
he's
led to
still
all sorts of
alive.
theories of his nature and identity, while several researchers seek a rational explanation for the events, such as a serial rapist in costume. Other authors explore the more fantastic details of the story to propose different kinds of paranormal speculation. Number
The following is an important message from
Ooh,
Congress.
I do like that one. Can you go fast? I know one of them died. I'm a spoiler. One of them died. I think it was Raya.
Experiment
Yeah, I think
88
Raya
to
died.
commence in 3, 2.
What the heck did I sign up for?
5.
Spoiler.
Gnomes and Duendes. Recent scientific discovery has led to confirm that very small humans once existed on Earth. This brings the question that maybe evil gnomes and other small mythical and paranormal creatures may not sound so unreal after all. The folklore and rumor of evil gnomes has been going around since the Renaissance period. They were used in Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock. The creatures from this mock epic are small celestial creatures which were prudish women in their past lives, and now spend all of eternity looking out for prudish women. Gnomes went on to maintain a playful air to them, being known often as ugly fairies and being featured in children's books. However, the Spanish equivalent to gnomes are duendes, and they have a far more terrifying lore behind them. They are known mostly in Spain, Portugal, Mexico, South America, and the Philippines to measure from 18 inches up to 4 feet tall. In many legends, the duendes have no thumbs, dress in animal skins and furs, and wear a strange hat. Legends vary amongst regions, and while some believe the duende to be a creature all their own, many others believe that they are the spirits of unbaptized infants that can be either good or bad. It is said they have a habit of tormenting people, usually humans who have destroyed their homes or killed their animals. This legend later evolved into punishing naughty children who disobeyed. Commonly, they are known to be nothing more than tricksters, but in very recent years, they have been seen as very evil and vicious beings. Legends of duendes slaughtering animals, destroying property, and kidnapping and eating children have become more common than the comical tales of them stealing shoes. In 2008, reports of a duende terrorizing a town in Argentina became very popular throughout media. A duende was allegedly recorded by a teenager named Jose Alvarez in the city of Guames. Alvarez and his friends were recorded speaking when the camera pans to the distance to see something wearing a cone-shaped hat doing a little dance. The lore about defending yourself against duende is inconsistent. Many people claim that religious items have no effect on them, while others report that a rosary will keep them away. Since duende are similar to the fairies of European lore, it is possible that iron might be useful. As fairies fear iron and will flee from it. Either way, keep an eye on that little figurine in your neighbor's yard. Number 4. Bigfoot. Known as a cryptid, ape, or humanoid-like
Everyone knows about
creature,
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot
Everyone
is said
knows
to
about
inhabit
Bigfoot.
forests, mainly in the Pacific Northwest region of America,
Life,
going by other names like Sasquatch, Yeti, skunk ape, or Yowie. This creature has been seen in isolated woodlands and mountain areas all over, and the descriptions given by spectators have stayed relatively consistent. People have described the creature as a man covered with long brown, auburn, or even white hair, reaching a height of about 7 or 8 feet.
Sorry if I'm
Bigfoot has
singing.
also
I
been
just
said to have very
trying to
large
find a
feet,
theme song
which
for it.
often leave behind deep and large prints. A strong foul odor, a disliking for humans, and a terrifying howl have also been reported by those who have claimed to see this mysterious being. Stories of Bigfoot came about before 1958, even before a name was designated to the wild ape man. As far back as 1847, Paul Kane, a famous painter, reported stories by the native people about Skookums, a race of cannibalistic wild men living on the peak of Mount St. Helen. In more modern times, Bigfoot has become a star of popular culture, being portrayed in a humorous way in TVs and movies. However, there's a dark side to Bigfoot that comes from the stories shared by witnesses. Campers, hikers, and even Sasquatch researchers have reported being attacked viciously and even stolen from what they claim to be the famous Woodland Man. There have even been a couple cases where campers have been attacked and brutally mauled to death by what investigators refer to as an unknown beast. Of course, there are plenty of believers that blame these deaths on Bigfoot. Although most scientists are quick to narrow sighting down to nothing more than misidentification, that doesn't change the fact that there are plenty of research teams en route to finding Bigfoot. From large teams and organizations on the trail to independent adventurers looking for a thrill, there are plenty out there that might bring us evidence in the future. Number 3. Lady Midday. Another terrifying female creature found commonly to the various Slavic countries of Eastern Europe. She makes herself evident in the middle of hot summer days and takes the form of a whirling dust cloud and carries a scythe or shears. She will stop people in the field to ask them difficult questions or engage them in conversation. If anyone fails to answer a question or tries to change the subject, she will cut off the head or strike them with illness. She may also appear as an old hag, a beautiful woman, or a 12-year-old girl, and she was useful in scarring children away from valuable crops. Although most doctors have confirmed that Lady Midday is more of an oddly shared hallucination before sunstroke, it's still strange to think that so many people would have such similar pre-stroke hallucinations. Furthermore, many people have reported seeing Lady Midday at night, wandering around areas where she claimed her last victims. Number 2. Skinwalker. In some Native American legends, a skinwalker is a person with the natural ability to turn into any animal he or she desires. To be able to transform, legend sometimes requires that the skinwalker wears a pelt of the animal. In most cases, this pelt is not used in modern times because it is an obvious sign of them being skinwalkers. Although a skinwalker is most frequently seen as a coyote, wolf, fox, eagle, owl, or crow, the Navajo version of the skinwalker is said to have the power to assume the form of any animal they choose, a decision based on what specific abilities are needed. For example, witches may use a bird form to travel in pursuit, escape, or otherwise. Some Navajo also believe that skinwalkers have the ability to steal the face of a person. The Navajos believe that if you ever lock eyes with a skinwalker, they can absorb themselves into your body. Alternatively, some Navajos believe that if you make eye contact with a skinwalker, your body will freeze up due to fear of them, and the skinwalker will use that fear to gain power and energy. Skinwalkers are also commonly associated with being witches. However, not all witches are skinwalkers. The main goal of this being is to absorb the energy through fear. They don't always kill their prey, but there have been cases where they allegedly mutilated and devoured their victims. Number 1. The Wingless Angel. This being is more of a rumor, but either way it's terrifying that so many people have experienced seeing the same thing. As many as 240 people actually claim seeing the exact same thing. Such a sighting took place over several days in June 1905 in Voltana, Spain. The accounts consistently describe a woman dressed in white flying through the air without the aid of wings. Some witnesses even go as far as to describe her hair color and body type. The woman sometimes flew against the wind, and one witness said she might have heard it singing as it passed overhead. Although there has been no photographic evidence pertaining to a wingless angel case, she is just one of the many unexplained flying people found over the years. There have been accounts of creatures of what seem to be human beings flying in the air without any sort of assistance from wings or equipment. In fact, around March March 2000, a very trusted and experienced sky watcher named Salvador Guerrero caught a photo of a dark humanoid figure flying in the sky in Mexico. This sparked several very similar sightings in the region, as well as in Arizona. Aliens from another planet, beings sent by God to protect us, are just another strange science phenomenon caused by plane debris. It's really up to the viewer to decide, but
Okay. That's all, guys. Yeah, this was super boring. So this is all, guys. See ya and goodbye.